Conscious collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, change makers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
What up, y'all? This is Emily.
And I'm Lisa, and we are the Conscious Collaboration here, joined with our third part of our collaboration, Justin Brent. And Justin, we're so happy to have you here. I'm going to kick it over to you and give yourself a little introduction and let our listeners know how you found us. But listeners, you're in for a real treat. I almost said trip. You're in for a trip. And bring on the rabbit hole.
It might be both.
No pun intended, but Justin is the CEO of Redwood Micro, so he's going to share with us some unique intelligence that he brings. So, Justin.
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. And I found you guys through Dr. Garcia, who's a good friend of mine, who I've spent and shared tons of information with. We've had tons of chats about plant medicine, and he's a big advocate, and he's also a client of mine, on the down low.
Beautiful.
But,
we love Dr. Carlos so much.
He's amazing. He's an amazing guy. He's connected me with so many wonderful people. He's, I give him so much credit for the growth that's happened in the last year for me, for my business and the podcast and talks and all of that, because I met with him in person when I was in Tampa, and we had like a 2-hour chat. That same thing where we're like, we need to have another one because we're barely scratching the surface here, and he has his kids, so he had to go. But yeah, so I started this business about 5 years ago, and it was purely to heal myself. I wanted to get off of antidepressants, anti-anxieties, anti-sleep medication, mood regulators. I was in the cannabis industry for 10 years, commercial cannabis. And it really showed me a dark side of humanity when I was in an industry that's supposed to be a healing industry, and decided I needed to shift to something that was more healing for me. And I was just tired of Western medicine. And I decided one day, I'm done. I felt like I was putting a Band-Aid on a wound and just kept putting more and more Band-Aids over a wound that wasn't healing. And then when I finally took that Band-Aid off, which was the day when I stopped taking my medicine, it was horrible. I was having seizures. It was really, really bad. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to dedicate all of my time and energy into figuring out a natural way to alleviate these symptoms and to get off of these medications, and became obsessed with mushrooms, studied them for a year straight, basically locked myself in my house. I was growing them. I was alchemizing. I was experimenting with different mixtures. I experimented with about 15 different blends of medicinal mushrooms, psilocybin, other superfoods, cacao, ginseng, just all sorts of natural supplements to try to find something that worked for me. And it was always just for me. I had no intention of this really reaching anyone. It was me trying to heal myself. And after a year, I had gotten off of every prescription medication that I had been on for 10 years.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, with zero side effects. And I felt better than I had ever felt. I was healthier than I had ever been. And then friends of mine saw it, and it was that obvious that they were like, "What are you doing? What's going on?" And I explained to them what I was doing, and then I would give them some samples, and they all would come back and they basically said, "You really have something here. This isn't just you thinking that you're feeling better." And I wanted to do it in a way that wasn't just going to these events and kind of illegally selling, super colorful psychedelic looking chocolate bars at, you
Mhm.
know, in Venice Beach or things like that. I wanted to do it medicinally. I wanted to work with the medical community. I have a psychology degree, and I'm also a licensed mental health therapist. So for me, I didn't want to just sell a product and have no feedback and not know what was going on with it. I wanted to work directly alongside with medical professionals to see the results, to see what's going on, to see what we can use it for, to show that it's more than just for mood elevation, and
Mhm.
to really go into depth on a holistic point of view of really what the medicine can do, not just emotionally and mentally, but physically, and that it can really cure some serious illnesses, and not just anxiety, depression, addiction, but way deeper than that, and it gets into your to a cellular level. And
Mhm.
and I decided to pack up my car in California, Northern California, which is where I lived, and I drove to Mexico. I drove down to Mexico, all through the
Wow.
whole country of Mexico, stopping at holistic doctors, rehab facilities, addiction facilities, cognitive rehab, neuropsychologists. There's just all sorts of holistic doctors, and I was just received with open arms by everyone. It was incredible. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced, where I could walk into a doctor's office and say, my name's Justin. I'm from California. I have a psilocybin microdose product that I would love to share with you guys and explain the benefits." And it was like they would tell their patient, "Hold on 5 minutes. I need to go talk to this guy." You
Oh,
know, and
okay.
it was just so welcoming here in Mexico. And and then doctors started connecting with other doctors, and it was just working, and they started using it for basically anything from stroke, seizure, traumatic brain injury, coma recoveries, to anxiety, depression, addiction, PTSD, Alzheimer's and dementia, long COVID. There's been cases of long COVID, people that have
Wow.
had COVID for 3 years, and after 2 weeks, they're like, I'm better. I'm not taking any medication
Oh my
anymore.
gosh.
I cured myself of epilepsy. I've had epilepsy my whole life.
Wow.
And after a year of microdosing, gone back to the doctors, and not only have I not had episodes, I don't even have the chemistry of epilepsy in my body anymore. So I've literally eliminated something that supposedly is for life, you know,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what I want to show people, is that it's a medicine, and it's also a mindset, and that you have to combine those two. And if
Mhm.
you can combine a medicine that can work physiologically, and you can also get your mindset into a place where you can believe that it's working,
Yes.
everything comes together in such a natural way, and you can heal yourself, you
I
know, and
like
you
that you
can
mentioned in our pre-chat too, you've said the word intention quite a few times.
intention,
So, yes.
absolutely. So I oh, sorry, we're gonna.
I was just gonna say it sounds, it can sound a little bit like hippy doodah on the surface, right? Like, oh, if you believe the medicine works, but they've done studies on this, and it's been shown
Exactly.
time after time, placebo effect, nocebo effect. What you believe about the treatment matters almost as much as whether or not you even receive the treatment.
I and it's funny because I actually did a podcast specifically about this, about placebo effect versus non. And my perspective is, if it works, it works. It doesn't matter if
Mhm.
it's placebo or not. It's working, right?
Right.
So it's like, if you
Right.
believe it's working, who cares if it's the medicine working or if it's your brain working? To me, it just proves how strong and how powerful our brain is. If you can receive a
Mhm.
placebo and change and cure something with
Mhm.
that, then that goes to show even more so the power of our brain, you know. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, if you received a placebo and you were and had the same effect as someone that received a microdose because you thought you were receiving a microdose. You've told yourself you're receiving a microdose, and now in your head you're going to act as if you are, and then the chemistry in your brain is going to change. And it's and going back to intention with this medicine and all psychedelic medicines, but specifically with microdosing, it's a medicine that it combines spirituality and physiology. So it's like science meeting spirituality, which is what you were kind of saying, where it sounds kind of hippie doodah, you know, woo woo. Yeah, the hippie woo woo. But then you look at, you know, Johns Hopkins, Harvard, London College, Imperial College of London, throwing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into studying this and proving that it's not just belief, that it is working, and that there's statistics, there's data, it's way more than people just shouting from the sidewalks, hey, take a microdose, it works, I feel great, look at me, you know. And obviously now there's quite a bit more movement with it, and there's still a lot of skeptics, but at a certain point, when you have institutions like Harvard, like Johns Hopkins, you know, that are putting that much money into these studies, that you never saw that with cannabis. You never saw that with anything. And even with SSRIs, you know, and psilocybin acts on your brain the same way that an SSRI would, but on a different protein receptor, which is why it's more effective. So it's basically like you're taking an antidepressant, but instead of going to the protein receptor that an SSRI goes to, psilocybin goes to a protein receptor that's non-addictive, that doesn't cause these secondary effects, so that you can stop taking it and it's fine. You don't have to go through this whole terrible 6 weeks of hell, basically, you know. And if you put the intention there in the beginning, you know, really put an intention of okay, why am I taking this? What do I want to get out of this? What's the purpose of it? How fast do I want to see the results? How much work do I want to put in? You know, it's kind of what I always say is that you've got to meet the medicine in the middle with anything. That it's not, the medicine is not the answer. The microdose isn't the answer. The microdose is a tool. It's an incredible tool. It's basically like a Swiss Army knife of tools. So it gives you so many options now to be able to shift your perception, to experience something different, to look at something different. But more than that, it gives you time to stop and not react right away, and let your brain process what's happening and get out of the default mode network that we're in, because we're so stuck in this default mode network all the time from our whole life of repeating the same behavior patterns over and over and over again. So like, for example, when situation A happens, you react by doing this. So if you stub your toe, you're always gonna, it's the same reaction. And maybe it doesn't even hurt, but because for 30 years you've always thought that it's gonna hurt, you're telling yourself, I'm in so much pain, or I'm in so much stress. But those are signals that are firing that aren't really there. You know, they're kind of like misfiring neurons. And microdosing, what it does is basically it restructures your brain so that the neurotransmitters can cross left to right, and they can land where they're supposed to land, as opposed to landing somewhere else. So, for example, if you react the same way for 30 years to the same thing over and over and over again, it's like if you're skiing down the same trail, you're going to build a rut, right? And it's just going to keep going down. So you're not going to be able to even see other options, other ways to perceive something. You're just going to go straight to how you've always acted, how you've always reacted to something. And microdosing kind of resets it. And it's what I say is it creates a kind of like a neural superhighway. in your brain.
Mhm.
So it like repaves everything, plus gives you 10 new lanes in the neural highway. So now you've got 10 different options of, okay, how do I want to get to this feeling, instead of just one way that you've always taken.
I like how
That's
you
so cool
describe
that you use that
Yeah.
analogy, because I literally likened it to like a GPS giving you a new route somewhere, and
That's exactly what it
with
is.
the
Shortcuts.
intention, you can choose to take that route or not.
Yep.
But if you didn't even know it existed before, then that wouldn't have been an option. But that's cool that I'm on target with that.
And that's the main problem with most people, is that they don't know that there's other options, because they're either not open to seeing another option, or that, you know, they're at an age where, you know, like for my dad, for example, or someone in the boomer generation, that's for 60, 70 years, they've always reacted the same way. So for them, it's really hard for them to see other ways of seeing things. And but if we're not able to think that there's another way to go about perceiving something, we're never going to be able to perceive anything differently. So so it's really about the intention. It's really about the intention of what you want to change, and you can literally rewire your brain to how you want it to work. So it's like, if you have a meeting with someone, that every time you have a meeting with this person, you know that you're going to leave stressed out, because you just don't get along with the person, or there's always some type of headbutting. What microdosing and psilocybin does is it'll give you, you know, 10 new ways of seeing it. So where it's like, okay, I don't have to leave this meeting feeling like this. I'm going to leave. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to experience it. I'm going to observe it, but I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to carry it with me. I'm not going to take it with me now. So really, it's a lot about our emotions, and feeling them, observing them, allowing them to happen, but not allowing them to control us, and getting to a point where, because we can't control how we feel, obviously our feelings are going to come up, but we can control how we react to the feelings. And that's the most important thing. And with microdosing, you're able to literally train your brain as if it's a muscle, like your shoulders or your arms, to where you train it enough, and you tell yourself enough, okay, this is happening, but I don't care. I'm not going to let it upset me. I'm sitting in traffic. It's not going to upset me. Over time, you've literally trained yourself now to where it doesn't upset you. And in the beginning, you might have to work on it. It's going to be work. You're going to have to do the work to kind of force yourself to, you know, look at the positive side of things, or not focus on the negative, and you know, the saying, kind of fake it till you make it. But adding microdosing, the fake it till you make it, it only lasts about a week, and then you don't have to fake it anymore. You're there. So it's like you've trained your brain now that quickly, to where your brain automatically now knows how you want to feel in a situation, and it's not going to give you the anger. It's not going to make you angry. You're going to be able to control it. You're going to be able to be in a situation and say, okay, this is happening. I'm not enjoying it, but I'm also not going to allow it to ruin my day. I'm going to see it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to release it, you know, as opposed to holding on to it.
And that sounds so simple, but that's really like one of the hardest things to do.
It is. It is really hard to do. And it's one of those things where, like, when a therapist says, oh, just let it go. It's like, of course, everyone would love to just let something go, you know, where it's like, oh, yeah, do you think I don't want to let it go? Or do you think I would like to feel like this?
Yeah. I mean, I love the analogy you gave too about skiing and you're wearing that track down, because I've been in that situation so often when, like, I see the other trails, but my ski is so glued to the track that I can't even pick it up. Like almost like there it goes. I missed it because I
Yeah.
couldn't get my ski out of the track.
Or even see above
Yeah.
it's like you're in a valley. It's like you're down in a valley to where you can't even see above to see these other pathways.
Yeah.
And what I explain with microdosing, another analogy is it's kind of like when the Zamboni or whatever it is that clears the ski trails in the morning,
Yeah.
that levels everything out. So now you're back to the surface and you see everything clear.
Mhm.
So you're able to see 360 degrees around, all these different ways of perceiving, feeling, experiencing something, reacting. You know, and it really, a lot comes down to intention. And I always go back to that because if you don't have an intention with microdosing, you're basically just kind of using it as another way to distract yourself from what's going on in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it is work. It's not like a lot of people think that plant medicine is the work. Oh, I did the ceremony.
Mhm.
I don't need to do anything else. And
Yeah.
that's spiritual bypassing by definition.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
oh, I've done 50 ayahuasca ceremonies, so I'm healed. But
Yeah,
it's like, what
spoiler
have you
alert, it's never just the magic pill.
Right.
exactly,
It's
Never.
just the
exactly.
beginning. Yeah, we do. Emily and I hear a lot of that in spiritual communities of that it's not about the event itself. Like that's
Not at all. Not at all.
you're
The
in
event
for a
itself is an
lot.
experience. You know,
Yeah.
that's the easy part almost. You know what I mean? The hard part is taking that experience and integrating it into your life and now bringing it in. Okay, what did I learn in that experience and how can I use it to improve my behavior, my perception, my judgments, my feelings. You're never going to be able to control your emotions. That's one thing that I always tell people. Emotions are emotions. We feel what we feel, and everything we feel is valid. So if you feel a certain way, it's okay. It's not
Mhm.
bad to feel a certain way, but there's healthier ways to go about getting out of feeling that way, as opposed
Mhm.
to, drinking it away or whatever. Go work out, meditate, breathe, walk. There's very simple things that you can include alongside with microdosing, and that's why I always, when I do consultations or coaching, that it's microdosing, of course, but then I'll include a full on other routine that includes, that has to do with diet, that has to do with exercise, that has to do with
Mhm.
breathing, meditation. It's a full thing. It's not just take the pill
Mhm.
and you're going to be better. It's
I
take the
like that
pill.
you mentioned that. I saw that in your bio. You're just as much
Yeah,
of an expert in
Mhm.
the integration as you are
yeah.
in the product and
And
the
I'm
dosing
actually
of it.
more passionate about the integration because that's when I see the results.
Mhm.
That's when I get the feedback. That's when I get the one-on-one. That's when I can hear what people have to say, what's working, what's not. And I don't take anything personal either. So I want all the feedback. I want positive,
Mhm.
negative. I want people to tell me, hey, this isn't working for this, or this is what is this? This isn't doing anything. That hasn't happened. Um, right now I'm working with a stroke victim who's recovering from a stroke, and she had a stroke in 2020, so it's been 4 years, and she has minimal motor skills, and she's been on gabapentin for nerve pain
Mm.
for
Mhm.
4 years, constant.
Wow.
And she started microdosing 2.5 weeks ago, and I did a consultation with them to kind of explain how to go about it. She's doing her therapies as well, but she included microdosing along with her cognitive therapies. And I got a message just the other day. It's been 2 weeks. I have zero nerve pain. at
Wow.
all, you know,
Has she
and
tapered off of the gabapentin as well?
yeah, she's not on it at all.
Oh,
She's not
good.
taking it at all. And this is
Yeah.
that's the second person that's been off of gabapentin within 2 weeks of microdosing, and because
Wow.
nerve pain isn't real.
It's
Nerve pain
so
is your
challenging.
neuron. It's so challenging because it's your brain basically misfiring.
Mhm.
It's sending neurons to the wrong place.
Mhm.
Or it's sending neurons that aren't or neurotransmitters that aren't arriving where they're supposed to arrive because
Mhm.
there's no connection. That connection's been separated. So it's like you think you're in pain because your brain is sending a chemical that says you're in pain, and it's arriving somewhere that it shouldn't be. So it's
Mhm.
almost like when people have a stroke, it's like all of the neurotransmitters and all of the connections and the pathways get tangled up. So
Mhm.
nothing's arriving, nothing's going where it's supposed to go. And microdosing, and what they say, decolonizes your brain. So it basically untangles all of that clump of neural pathways that have been tangled, and it regenerates the connections. It puts everything back
Mhm.
in line, and it allows the neurons to cross in a proper way. And it basically gives your brain the ability to now function properly.
I keep
And
thinking like Control Alt Delete,
yeah,
A
it's
reset.
basically
you
like
know,
it
little reset.
literally is,
Mhm.
you know, it's like a reset. And of course there's the high dose mushrooms. That's a different type of reset, you know, and that's something that's also very beneficial, but it's not as practical. It's not something that you can bring into your daily life, especially if you have a family, if you have work, if you're not able to just take a weekend and go and completely lose your mind. And not everyone's
Mhm.
ready for that. Not everyone can handle that. Whereas microdosing, you're developing an intimate relationship with this basically living being.
Mhm.
I consider a mushroom. It's a living being. It's
Mhm.
not only a living being, but it's a living being with an intelligence level
Mhm.
beyond anything that we've ever seen. And if you've seen any of these documentaries,
The
mushrooms are able to
Fantastic Fungi is great. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
mushrooms are able to so the way that they send signals to trees
Mhm.
underground to show, okay, there's a bacterial infection that's traveling that's going to reach, so we're going to send these signals before it gets to you. When you take mushrooms and put them into your body, it's doing the same thing on a cellular level in your body. So it's preventative as well. So you might not even know that you have the beginning of some type of blood issue, but the mushroom can find it. And then the mushroom is going to send signals to heal it before you even know.
Mm.
And so the intelligence level is it's just incredible. And seeing the different uses here in Mexico that I've seen, the successes of for, you know, probably 15 different illnesses, conditions, sicknesses, issues, and it's been successful for all of them. And that's what the doctors here are so blown away by, is that there is no, not that there's no limit, but that the mushrooms know where to go in your body when you put them in to heal you. So you might think, oh, I'm gonna microdose for my anxiety, and you start microdosing, and maybe a week later you've quit alcohol and you've stopped eating sugar, but that was not any of your intention. But the mushroom went into your body, and that was what it saw that you needed more than anything. And that's what maybe was causing your anxiety. So it's like,
Mhm.
it's not necessarily a direct, okay, I'm going to take this for anxiety and the mushroom is going to go and make me feel like I took a Xanax. It's not like
Mhm.
that. The mushrooms are
Mhm.
going to, they're going to do what they do on a cellular level to allow you to get yourself out of the anxiety or out of the depression or out of the addiction
Mm.
with a tool, by using this tool, you know. And it when you're in a good mood, everything else happens easier. So I always, the kind of slogan for my brand since the beginning is that microdosing is a gentle nudge into a flow state.
Mm.
And when you're in a flow state, everything just happens so much easier, so much natural. You're clear. You're 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 answering questions way more direct. You know what you want to do. You're not feeling stressed. You're more patient. You just, the day is over, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I just worked 10 hours, and it felt like it was nothing because you just didn't have that fight or flight response at all. You were just flowing throughout the whole day, and yoga and
But
exercise
not
gives you this as well.
sedated. Not
Exactly.
sedated, not sleepy.
Exactly.
I've taken an energy type blend. I don't know off the top of my head all the different types that are in there, but what I noted is that because I had the experience of being on Adderall for years, and I felt like it took care of all the things that Adderall would take care of, but without that sort of like dirty, like chemical
And crash.
addition type of feeling, right? And the crash, and
$100%.
basically any of the negative side effects. And it was very
Exactly.
subperceptual, I think is the word I've heard used. It
It's
wasn't like drinking a Red
so
Bull or something.
exactly. And so subperceptual is the general term for microdosing. I actually change it to sub hallucinogenic because I do believe that when you microdose, you do feel something. You do perceive it, but you perceive it in a way that allows you to function on a higher level. It doesn't distract you. You're able to eat. You're able to work out. You're able to do everything you can do, but you're even doing it at a higher level. So it basically puts you into like your highest self. Whereas
felt like this is what an optimal human brain should feel like.
100%, 100%. And there's a neuropsychologist in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico who owns and runs a cognitive rehab facility who's using this blend for ADHD in adolescents instead of Adderall for 16-year-olds. I mean, obviously with parental permission.
Yeah.
And the parents are completely okay with it because it's like, okay, methamphetamine or a natural
Speed is
substance,
worse. Speed is worse.
it's as long as you can get that fear that people have surrounding mushrooms out of the picture. And that's what I try to do is provide the awareness that we don't need to be afraid of mushrooms. They're here to help us. Obviously there are mushrooms that are poisonous. There are mushrooms that aren't going to help us, that you don't want to eat, that could seriously make you sick. But the overall fear that surrounds mushrooms that has come from, I don't even know where it comes from. You know what I mean? From hundreds of years ago, when you're a kid, your parents, no, don't touch that mushroom. Don't touch that mushroom. I remember when I was 5 years old, I picked a mushroom out of the ground. I didn't eat it. I just picked it up. And my parents were so scared that they gave me that's syrup to make me throw up.
Epicat or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And that just goes to show the level of fear that so many people have surrounding mushrooms, that mushrooms are bad, mushrooms are poisonous, they're all poisonous, they're not going to help you, they're going to kill you, you can't, you don't touch them, they're fungus, this whole
and the government crusade against
and that doesn't help at all, and big pharma stepping in, and that's going to be the biggest challenge, but at this point, with like you said, with the studies, with the data and the science, and the fact that these aren't small studies that are going on. These are gigantic studies coming from gigantic institutions that at some point, big pharma they're not going to be able to have an argument anymore. They're not going to be able to say this is all wrong because it's all right in front of us. We have this data here in front of our faces, to where it's still gonna, there's still gonna be time. And if you ask me, I would say that it's still gonna be about 5 to 10 years before we see, you know, the ability to purchase microdose products, for example, legally through a doctor. I don't ever think that we're going to get to a point where there's going to be dispensaries where you're going to get recreational mushrooms.
No?
I don't, because I personally believe that mushrooms are so much more medicinal than recreational, that the government will see that as well, and that it's, cannabis is also medicinal, but it's very recreational, if we're going to be honest, you know, and a lot of people use it for recreational use. Mushrooms, it's not something that you want to take. If you, like, for example, if you took a high dose of mushrooms, the next day you don't want to take that again. You don't want to go through that again, because you just had such a crazy surge of emotions where you need so much time to figure out what happened. And I think that it will get to a point where you can go to a doctor and get a prescription and get microdoses at a dispensary, but like it was before with cannabis, where you need a medicinal card. You can't just walk in and buy it. And I think when that happens, it's going to be amazing, because right now it's not accessible, really. You know, if you're in Oregon where it's legal and you want to go get a psilocybin session, it costs $3,500 for a 2-hour session. You know, and they don't accept insurance. It's cash only. And they've got a wait list of like 800 people, you know, and I actually just posted today something, because Oregon just decided they're deciding if they're gonna lower the restrictions on the accessibility, and make it more accessible, make it cheaper, make it more available, and that's what needs to happen. It needs to be accessible.
Well, it's not really the medicine so much that they're paying all that money for, right? It's the concierge service, or is that not?
Well, they're not getting anything after. That's the thing. So you're going. It's a 2 hours. What you're paying for are the nurses that are there, and like so you're paying for the services that are provided while you're under the care. So you're paying for the fact that you have real nurses, you have doctors there, you have people that are able to step in if something medical were to happen to you, you know, and of course that's going to cost. But mushrooms aren't necessarily something, and for me personally, I would never, ever take a high dose of mushrooms in a clinical setting. It
sounds very,
to
like,
me,
cold and unfriendly, and it would be disorienting.
I mean, they probably,
you know, it's like you're kind of stuck, and mushrooms are very nature oriented. And if you're just you're in
outside.
a fluorescently lit room with doctors monitoring you and putting you into an MRI machine to scan your brain, it's just it takes away from the experience in a way. And I don't think that people are even able to actually get the full experience because they're in this clinical setting, you know. But obviously, you know, but obviously there's people that's what they need. They're not going to be comfortable to just take this medicine and go out on their own. And I don't think that one or other is right or wrong. I think that there's a place for both. There's a place for the clinical setting, and then there's also a place for doing it on self-experimentation, if you will, you know, but in a safe setting and with someone that can, you know, be there to make sure that nothing happens to you, and kind of guide you, even if they're not a guide, not a facilitator, even if they don't know anything about mushrooms, just someone that's there to make sure that you're not completely gonna lose your mind and jump
Right.
off the roof, thinking you
Here's
can
a
fly.
question based on that. It, now, I suppose any substance, it's possible to have an allergy to, right? But
Yep.
aside from that, I mean, it's really not a toxic or dangerous substance in that regard, right? I mean, even
No,
at very high doses, just could
no,
be like a very uncomfortable experience.
exactly.
But you're not
That's
going
the
to
only
stop
thing that can happen.
breathing. You're not going to,
No,
your blood pressure is not going to drop or anything of that
the
nature.
the lethal dose for psilocybin
Hmm.
is, I think, 5 times your body weight.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So it's like you would have to eat.
Can you even do that? You do a
That's what I
diet
mean.
like
That's
overeating
what
first.
that's what I'm saying. That's
You
what I mean.
can't
So
fit it in there.
it's basically the whole idea is that it's impossible. There is no lethal
Mhm,
dose of psilocybin. Um, and the only thing that could happen is, yeah, you might have a panic attack because you're not
mhm,
comfortable. But medically, yeah, nothing's going to happen.
mhm,
Your heart, nothing's going to happen to your heart. It's not like it's not affecting your nervous system in any way to where you're going to, pass out or be sedated,
mhm,
or your heart's going to just stop. It's more so that, yeah, it can cause anxiety, and then that can sometimes lead to, a panic attack, and then people can think, oh, I'm dying, I'm dying.
mhm,
But it's all mental. And then if you
mhm,
can snap out of that and accept it, and that's another thing, is that you have to be able to be willing to accept what you feel when you're microdosing. So you're going to feel things that you didn't feel or you haven't felt in a long time, emotions that have been stuck, let's say, in your pancreas or in your kidneys, emotions that you've put somewhere because you don't want to feel them, and maybe you've forgotten that they even exist. You start microdosing, they're going to come up, they're going to come to the surface, and you're going to feel these emotions. And a lot of times people in the beginning, or they'll come back to me and they'll go, this week has been super emotional, I've been crying all week, I've been super sad, I don't know what's going on. And my response is, it's working, the medicine's
mhm. You
working,
kinda shook it up and it's
Yeah, I mean,
moving.
it's
it's
better
like
than
a
being
snow globe.
stagnant. Yeah.
I got this funny
It's like
picture though of me tucking my emotions into my pancreas, like, "You just you
and then
just
what
go
I
in
say
there."
to people is, when you take the microdose, it's like your body's the snow globe, and now you've shaken the snow
Mhm,
globe. So now all these emotions are not stuck, and you're able to see them. They're floating. They're not all stagnant, sitting on top of each other, and then you can choose to release them little by little. You
mhm,
don't have to get them all out at once, because that's also not practical. And that's what I tell people too: is that don't be hard on yourself. Don't It's not like, oh, I've been microdosing for 2 weeks, why am I not fully healed? Why do I still feel this way or this way? It's a process. And it's a
mhm,
process that, I like I said, for me, it took me a year of microdosing consistently before I was able to really get myself out of, and
yeah,
I was in a pretty dark place, to the point where I didn't think that anything was going to be able to get me out of where I was, except for
Wow.
going to rehab, or or worse. And then this happened, and I saw that I was able to get myself out of all of this, out of off of all these medications. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to go and share this with the world, because if I can do this, if I can get out of what I was in that hole that I was in, there's so many other people that can do it, and that don't think they can do it, but they can,
Yeah.
mhm,
that was my mission from the very beginning, was just to provide this awareness, to show the education, and let people know it's not something to fear, and it's something that is here to help us, but it's also something that you need to put in work as well. And it's, you've got to give just as much back to the medicine as the medicine gives to you if you want to see the results. Or you're gonna, it's back to the whole, magic pill, where people take it and think it's a magic pill. However, the reason that I'm so fascinated with mushrooms, and specifically with microdosing, coming from a science background, a psychology background, is that there is a physiological aspect to it, regardless of what you believe, regardless of if you're spiritual, regardless of if you're, part of the kind of hippie woo-woo movement, that it's still going to work. Even if you don't do even if you're like, oh, I don't want to do any of that extra work. I don't want to journal. I don't want to meditate. I don't want to breathe. I don't want to go exercise. You're still going to benefit from microdosing, because by definition, it's physiologically changing your brain. You're creating neurogenesis. You're creating neuroplasticity. And the neuroplasticity basically just means it's allowing your brain to move in different ways, to function in different ways, to stretch, to see things different, and increase pathways, to add more pathways. So it's like where it's really where spirituality meets physiology. And if you can bring both together, and you have the belief, plus you're also taking the medicine, then now you've got this basically full package deal of, okay, now I've got a tool, but I also fully 100% believe in this tool. And I believe in myself, that I can use this tool to get to where I want to go. And if you don't believe in yourself that you can do it, then none of it matters. You'll get to a certain point, but if you never think that you're going to be able to get out of your depression, or that you're never going to be able to live a life of, not completely without anxiety or stress, because we're always going to have anxiety. We're always going to feel stress. We're always going to have things that are going to cause some sort of depression in our lives. We're never going to be able to live a life that's completely stress-free. That's not realistic.
Wouldn't want to either. That would be
exactly.
You wouldn't be able to experience the good stuff.
Exactly. You need the highs and lows, but with microdosing, it allows you to familiarize yourself with the feeling before it's too late, before it's encompassed you completely. So it's like, if you're feeling this familiar, feeling of anxiety coming up, now you're able to say, oh, I've got this tool. I know now, okay, I'm feeling this anxiety. I'm going to go take a 10-minute walk to wherever, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to breathe for 5 minutes. And that's going to work. And now every time you start to feel this anxiety, you can do these little practices. They don't have to be, you need to meditate for 2 hours or go to the gym for 4 hours. You know what I mean? I do believe in exercise 100%. I emphasize a ton with movement and microdosing, and that they do go very well together. And I believe that if you want to maximize the benefits from microdosing, that you absolutely need to include some type of movement practice, whether it's, even if it's just 10 minutes of sun salutations in the morning. That's what I tell people. Like, you don't have to go to the gym like crazy. You don't have to go learn Ashtanga yoga. You don't have to go to a power vinyasa class, but just start by going on a 5-minute walk. Start by doing jumping jacks or sit-ups, or, like I said, just sun salutation or stretching. Things that everyone can do, that everyone has access to, that you don't need to go to a gym. You don't need to have equipment. And all of these things are going to just add more tools to your tool belt, and contribute and make the experience that much better, and you really
imagine Snake shaking up the snow globe, and then you just sit still.
Exactly.
All the stuff's gonna settle back in.
100%.
Yeah.
And then but it settles in different spots.
Mhm.
So now it's like before
Mhm.
you knew, and now it's like a whole new feeling of, okay, now I'm anxious, I'm depressed, but in a different way, because it's all in different spots now. Whereas before, maybe you had, this feeling that was stuck in, let's say, your lower stomach or your pancreas,
Mhm.
but you shake the snow globe and now it's all moved. And if you don't do the work while it's still floating
Mhm.
around, it all settles back down in different places. And then it just makes that much harder the next time you want to do it, because now you've got to basically re-find and rediscover where these emotions are coming from, and
Mhm.
how to bring them out. And it's crucial that you allow it to happen, and allow the feelings to happen, and accept what you feel, and not try to shut down a feeling because you don't want to feel it. And a lot of
Mhm.
times with microdosing, that's what happens is people start and then they stop because they start to feel anxious. And that anxiety is their anxiety coming to the surface
Mhm.
in a way where if they were able to trust in the process and really trust in the medicine, and be okay with being a bit uncomfortable for some time,
Mhm.
that it'll come out, it'll release, and
It's a
that
message. You
comes
have to acknowledge the message and
exactly
say, "Okay, what is my
100%.
body trying to tell me here?"
Yep. And that's the basic principle of it, is really listening to the message, not forcing it, not and if you, like I said, if you say, oh, I'm going to microdose because I'm trying to quit this, and let's say it doesn't really work for that, and instead of being hard on yourself and saying, oh, it's not working for this, try to look at maybe what it is working for. So maybe at first you're trying to microdose to quit drinking wine or alcohol or whatever,
Mhm.
and you're not really feeling like it's doing much. Instead of focusing on that, you can then look on, okay, but what is it doing? What is it causing me to do? I'm waking up happy. I'm walking every morning. I'm meditating. I'm calling my mom twice as much as I was before. So it's like
And
little
then
things,
perhaps that
little,
has downstream effects,
it's like a butterfly
cumulative
effect.
effects over time, to where whatever the things were that were triggering you to drink, or
Yep.
however you want to look at that, as those get better, then maybe it's just like it takes time sometimes.
Yeah. It takes time, and it takes you to be in a good state of mind to be able to do that work. So it's like you can't do all this hard work if you're depressed, in if you have severe anxiety, if you're in super deep in addiction. There's no way you're going to be able to do the work you need to do to get out of these things, because you don't have any tools. The only tool you have is the tool to stop feeling what you're feeling, which is the alcohol or the sex or the porn or whatever it is that you're using to alleviate the feelings that you're feeling, as opposed to feeling them. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
really, the only way to get rid of a feeling is to feel it,
Mhm.
to fully feel it, and
Mhm.
not run away from it. And 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 mushrooms allow you to feel it in a way that isn't as overwhelming, isn't as harsh, isn't as like intense. It allows you to
Mhm.
feel it in a way where you're like, okay, I feel this, but I accept it. It's
Mhm.
in me. I'm not going to fight against it, because if you fight against a feeling, then it's
You put
just a
it in your pancreas.
nonstop. Exactly.
Yeah,
You're putting
yeah.
it in
Do
your
you
pancreas, and it's exhausting. It's
Yeah.
exhausting to continually fight against a feeling, as opposed to accepting it, because you don't maybe want to accept that you're a negative person, or maybe you don't want to accept that you have anxiety, or you don't want to accept that you're depressed because of the stigma behind all this from society, and if you can get to the point where you can accept it, it's everything will change from there. And it's like, okay, the first thing is, okay, yeah, I've accepted that I have anxiety. And for me, it's hard. It's hard for a lot of people to accept these things about themselves because they don't want to think that their brain is either not working properly or that they've done something wrong that's caused this. And it has nothing to do with that. It's not that you've done something wrong to cause anxiety or to cause depression. It's your life. It's what you've seen. It's what you've experienced. It's what you grew up with. It's what you've seen on TV. It's the things that have been programmed into us that we're not choosing. We don't choose to have certain beliefs. They come from repeated behavior patterns over 30, 40 years, or however long, sometimes, longer, 60, 70 years for the older generations, to where there's no way that you're ever going to be able to change your perspective if you're not even willing to be open to seeing a different perspective.
I think that's one of the biggest things that we talk about with a lot of guests within the conscious collaboration, people that are visionary entrepreneurs, change makers, and thought leaders tend to be a little bit more anxious, and they tend to express having a little bit more, they identify as like tower moments, tower moments, and they feel like everything is crashing down. But on the other side of that is everything that they never knew existed, but everything they wanted. And it's kind of like having to surpass that like extreme, like, okay, jumping off the cliff kind of a feeling of something that you never knew, and it feels fearful. But I imagine what you're talking about with microdosing is to allow you to have that clarity or that like bigger picture sense of like, as you talk about, I think the word journeying is so like useful versus tripping, because, or like, it's more like empowering that you're navigating something and saying like, all the patterns of my whole life have just like all the cards and all the decks have fallen. And now I can see there's so much more on the other side that I should be taking a different track on the slopes, or
no, exactly. And that's exactly right. And it's exactly what I emphasize. And like I said, when I hear trip, I don't like that word because it just sounds, it has such a,
like I just tripped into a
exactly. You know what I mean? Where it's not a trip, it's a journey. And with microdosing, it's even more so a journey, because it's not just like, so I compare the analogy that I use when comparing microdosing to like a high dose session is a one night stand versus an intimate relationship. So what do you get more out of? Where are you more fulfilled in that type of a situation? Where it's like with microdosing, you're able to develop an intimate relationship with this being, bringing into your life on a daily basis. The medicine knows that, and it's going to give back to you that. It's not, whereas if you go and just do one session, okay, thanks, see you later, thanks for what you showed me, it's almost like you used the medicine for something as opposed to developing a relationship. as opposed to
mushrooms.
as opposed to developing. No, it's true, and it's funny because I love that analogy, and I use it a lot, because it's like that's not what the mushrooms are there for. They're there to continually show you and provide you with more than just one experience. It's this, okay, I'm gonna I'm going to trust you. The medicine's going to trust, you're going to trust the medicine. The medicine's going to trust you. You're going to give back the medicine just as much as it gives you. And it's not just a one-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, it just gets more and more intimate, and you get more connected with the medicine as if you were with a partner. And the intelligence of the medicine can see that. And it's the same as with any relationship, where the longer you go in a healthy relationship, the more you're connected with it, the better it gets, the happier you get, the happier the more in sync everything is. And with microdosing, it's super crucial and really important, and something that I emphasize to everyone, that it's really important to stay consistent with it and really follow a protocol, and not just take one microdose every, other week when you have like a day off and you want to just have a little sub-perceptual high, but implement it into your daily routine. Take it with your vitamins and go about your normal day and eat normally and wait for the changes to happen, as opposed to forcing them to happen, and not to be searching for it, not to take it and go, where is the feeling? Where is this? When am I going to feel it? When am I going to feel it? But take it and then just go about your day and allow the mushrooms to do their thing, and they will do their thing and in time. And it might be within 10 minutes, you might go, whoa, I feel great. I'm in a great mood. Or it might be 2 hours later, where you're in a meeting, or you're walking outside and you just catch a glimpse of something, and you just all of a sudden realize, oh, that's right, I took a microdose this morning. And you kind of just get this feeling of clarity. And it's like almost just basically like you're in a good mood.
One thing else I noticed too. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Well, one thing I noticed too on that note is that once I did take them consistently for a while, well, first of all, it was never like if I missed a day, I was like, oh my God, I forgot my mushrooms, like,
no, yeah, exactly.
Right. But then as time went on, and after I did take them very consistently for a while, it was like I learned the new paths on the GPS. I learned the new directions, so I could kind of then take it less later on to keep
100%.
sort of having the same experience. Like the
it's like a maintenance
there
dose.
now. Yeah.
That's what I always tell people. I call it a maintenance dose. I say basically, so I microdosed for a year consistently, but I took breaks in between, but I did a year, 3 months on, 3 weeks off, 3 months on, 3 weeks off, 3 months on, 3 weeks off for a year. And I did a 5-day-a-week protocol. So I was taking one capsule 5 days a week. And after that year, and that was like 6 years ago now, so now I'm at a point where, like what you just said, where once you've built it up in your system, the connections that happen, they're permanent. It's not like they're these temporary connections that only are there while you're microdosing. You stop, they're still there. Maybe you kind of will not forget, but not pay as much attention
back
to
into
that.
old patterns. Yeah,
exactly. You start to veer back into old patterns, and then you can implement back microdosing, but you're not going to have to go as intensely. It's like you put it back in. It's like a booster shot. The mushrooms go back in, and they go, oh yeah, I remember now. I remember where to go. I remember where the anxiety is. I remember how to work this body, because I've been in this body for a year or 6 months or however long you did it, to where you could maybe do 2 weeks and get the same that you got out of your first 6 months of microdosing. And
yeah, it's truly like the definition of supplement. It's like what you're describing.
100%.
Like supportive supplementing in a way that's not addictive or like a crutch that you need forever.
A crutch, right?
Exactly, and then you don't need it forever, and that's what I, because that's a question that I always get is this something I have to take forever? I don't want to take this forever, and it's absolutely not. And you could stop at any moment, and you're not going to have any secondary effects, you know. And and the blend that I created is not just psilocybin either. It's got 7 other medicinal mushrooms, and it also has 3 superfoods in it as well. So you're getting like a full body, all your organs are gonna get affected. And then there's also Mucuna puriens. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's a superfood super bean, and it's a cross between a coffee bean and a cacao bean.
Oh,
in terms of the dopaminergic benefits. So you get the benefits that you get from chocolate and coffee in terms of like how you feel, but without any of the negative effects of the caffeine or the sugar. So it just adds even more to that kind of feeling of being in a flow state, of being in a good mood, and
Cool.
and just the whole compound, all of the ingredients together make up what I think is something completely different than just psilocybin. It's a whole different thing. And I work with a bunch of doctors in Mexico now that they have pure psilocybin capsules as well. But as soon as I introduce the blend that I have, no one has any interest in the pure psilocybin anymore.
interesting.
Because
I like that. Yeah.
Because pure psilocybin will give you cognitive results. You're going to definitely, absolutely receive a lot of cognitive benefits. But when you blend all these other mushrooms and you stack them, what they do is they pull more benefits out of each previous mushroom. So, for example, if you were to take lion's mane by itself, you're going to get a lot of benefits from the lion's mane. But if you add reishi, the reishi mushroom is now going to pull more benefits from the lion's mane and from the reishi, and then add turkey tail on top of that, and then it's just this like each successive mushroom just pulls more and more and more and more. So you basically are able to get the maximum benefits out of each one of these individual mushrooms, as opposed to maybe 70%, you know, because you're not ever able to get 100% of the benefits from a single mushroom. And that's this whole stacking is what it's called. And
yeah, that makes sense. It reminds me of like, you know,
It's a conscious collaboration.
It is
exactly 100%. That's perfect. It's a great thing, because that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's a conscious collaboration
of using the ingredients like turmeric and pepper like together to be able to activate like the, I don't know, whatever flavonoids or whatever it is that works within
100%.
those. So I like, that's really interesting. I've not heard of anyone until meeting you about the blends and making that more holistic and like
exactly.
really.
And psilocybin has a way of also, even at a very low dose, does have a way of causing some type of anxiety in most people. So even if you were to just take the same dose of psilocybin that I have in my capsules, but without anything else, most of the time you're gonna feel the moment that the psilocybin enters into your body, and you're maybe gonna need to sit for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, not crazy, but you're gonna feel it hit. You're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel the moment that it kind of enters into your system. And for some people, it's like, okay, I need to go sit down for a few minutes to let this process. Whereas for me, the whole year that I spent experimenting with blends was to come up with a blend that didn't give you that feeling of being hit with anything, to where all of a sudden you just are in this state. You just, oh wow, I'm in a flow
That's
state.
the flow state that you
Mhm.
mentioned.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. You know,
Very.
and before you know it, your exercising is gonna, like I always tell people, microdose before you go work out, and let me know how that workout went, because it's gonna be the best workout of your life,
Mhm.
without a doubt. And with yoga even more so. And I'm an Ashtangi. I've done Ashtanga for
Mhm.
years. I actually had to stop microdosing before I did my Ashtanga practices because it was too intense.
You're just like,
Because I was at
ugh.
Yeah, because
I want to do more chaturangas.
I would be doing back bends on a microdose and almost hallucinating off of such a
Mhm.
small dose, because I was already, Ashtanga gives you such a, you're already entering into this really intense flow state, and then
Mhm.
adding in a microdose, there were times where I had to stop in the middle of my practice and just meditate, because I was like, this is just too much. And then
Mhm.
eventually I was like, okay, I'm not going to microdose before I do my Ashtanga practices, because it was too much for me, but
Mhm.
when it comes to going to the gym, weightlifting, it's different, because
Mhm.
it's more energy as opposed
I'm told
to
it decreases your RPE, your rate of perceived exertion. So basically, it feels easier to do
yep,
that, so you can lift more intensely. Uh,
100%. And you feel like you don't wear out. You feel like
mhm.
you don't fatigue. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy feeling. And I've got a client who's a personal trainer, who he buys in bulk, and he's gotten all of his clients off of pre-workout, and he now uses microdoses for the
Huh.
pre-workout. So because pre-workout is also really is really bad for you. It's
Can be
basically pure
harsh. Yeah.
caffeine,
Right.
sugar,
Mhm.
and
Ooh. Wait, that makes me think you're talking about pre-workout. Oh, I don't know how much you've listened through our podcast, but we were big fans of red lights. So Emily introduced me to the
ah
Atapa red light.
Mhm.
And so we use a lot of that within her studio. And I wonder if
ah
there's any connection to that as you talk about pre-workout, but perhaps like on the other end, the more restorative side of things like light
yeah,
therapy or anything like that.
I think of red
like so,
light therapy as a supplement as well. I think
Yeah.
they could,
absolutely.
you know,
It's like sauna.
work
Mhm.
really well together. Yeah. Mhm.
I believe red light therapy, sauna, cold cold plunge, all
Mhm.
of these things, they're all working together in a way to bring us into harmony with our body and our mind and our spirit. And there's not one that's going to do it all for you. But
Yeah.
Right. Right.
if you're able, and you don't also have to do all of it either. It's not like you have to microdose, you have to go to the sauna, you have to do
Right.
cold plunge, you have to do yoga, you have to do meditation, you have to do breath work. You can use a few of them. You can find which ones work for you,
Yep.
and use those, as opposed to being stuck and saying, okay, I'm microdosing and now I have to do all of this too, because
Right. You'd
it can be
literally spend
overwhelming
all
for
your
people.
all of your days
Ex-
biohacking and
Yeah.
exactly. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And that's also not necessarily realistic. So it's like, I always tell people, give yourself time in the day, maybe an hour or two, to where you are focusing on the biohacking, and where you're sitting down and you're journaling and you're really putting focus into, okay, how am I feeling? How do I want to feel? What's going on in my body right now? What have I done today? Meditation, exercise, yoga, whatever it may be. Um, and as opposed to trying to do it
Do it
all
all.
day, because it's not practical, it's not
Then it becomes
realistic,
a
and you're
stress, like to
exactly,
try to do it
Right.
all. Yeah.
it's just going to
They're all
cause more
tools.
stress,
Mhm.
and you're going to get frustrated, and then a lot of time people stop because they're like, it's not working, and I'm like, well, and then I go into more detail, and it's like, I'm doing this, like, just
Chill.
drink
Too
tequila.
much of a good thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Just
Give yourself some grace.
yeah, give yourself some grace. Find something first that you like to do and implement that, and then implement something else. And then little by
You
little,
wouldn't take your toolbox as a carpenter and use every single tool
exactly,
on every single project. There may be one tool that
exactly,
you use a lot, use a hammer a lot or whatever, but
exactly.
that doesn't mean you have to break out every single thing.
No, and
every
that's like what I
time.
say. It's like the microdose is like the principal tool, and then you've got all of these accessories that you've almost learned how to use through the microdosing. Also, that you have from other that before, where you already with the exercise and whatnot. So it's like you can use one principal tool, and then you implement maybe 2 or 3 accessories to that, and that's all you need. You don't need that whole toolbox. You're not going to need every size wrench for everything. It's more, and it's very personal too, day by day. It's changes day by day. One day you might take it and it could have this effect where you just it really really resonates with you, and it's just like you have an incredible day and you flow like crazy. And then the next day you might take it and you might cry all day because that's what you need to have.
That's
That's what
just
you
a
need to
piece
do.
of the work that's being done that day. Yep.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So you can't control what's going on, and if you try to control it, it's just it's gonna go haywire. You're gonna lose control even more so by trying to control it as opposed to just letting it happen. And
It's a lot like fitness and body recomposition. The analogies are just on fire today, but it's like,
yeah,
when you're trying to build muscle and or lose fat, things happen subtly on a day by day basis. The scale moves in ways that you think it might not. Your clothes fit differently, and there's water and everything
yep,
else, and if you just try to micromanage every bit of that process, then you're gonna throw yourself off track with the
exactly.
process.
Because it's always going to be
Yeah.
up and down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With anything, and but if you continue to trust in that process, even on those days that is down, knowing that okay, tomorrow it's not going to necessarily be no day is going to be the same. Then you're able to look at it completely different, and you're able to change that, and you're able to change your perspective and say, okay, today wasn't a great day, but that doesn't mean that
It
I did
didn't move the
something
needle.
wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that it didn't move the needle. It doesn't mean that it didn't do anything to me. It just, maybe you had a lot going on that day, and not to get down on yourself, not to let that make yourself, oh, this doesn't work for me. I'm a fail, or I'm the one person that microdosing doesn't work for, and some people get that feeling where they hear so many success stories from microdosing, and then they try it and it doesn't work immediately, and then they get super frustrated, and it's like, well, why is it working for all these people but it's not working for me? And they've taken 3 doses, or 1 week of microdosing, but they haven't done anything else. They haven't implemented any other routine into their or any other practice into their routine. And you absolutely need to implement other practices into a microdosing routine. It's not just taking a microdose. Like I said, it's microdosing, and then it's journaling, it's keeping track of your feelings, it's moving, getting outside, connecting with nature, reconnecting with family, with friends, relationships, with yourself. It brings you closer to your heart center, to where you're able to know how you feel and what you truly want, as opposed to what you think you want, or what people are kind of telling you what they think you want, or what you've thought you've wanted your whole life. and a lot of times we think we want something that we don't really actually want.
Mm-hmm.
We like the illusion of something, and we want that ability to have it, but we don't really want it. It's just we want to be able to have it.
I
We
like
want to
that
know that we
everything
can have
you're
it.
saying is resonating so much with what we're hearing in our community is really, a lot of times entrepreneurs, business owners, thought leaders, that there's that perception that there's no time for emotions or like stillness, and therefore the stuffing things down and it manifests in our pancreas or the knots in our shoulders or whatever, or whatever that we have.
Yeah.
But I like that you're referencing, the heart-centeredness, the importance of connecting inwardly versus of course, the outward systems are important too, but there's so much pressure on like the to-do list and did I check everything off, versus like, recognizing the inner work or that connectedness that you're referencing, I think is what a big part of our community experiences. We're talking about like July in particular being just a really emotional month. It's slower. We talk about it being cancer season. It's just like,
Yeah. Now
lots
we're
of,
in Leo. Now we're in the
now we're
Leo
in a
season, which is
Leo,
even
right? So
more fire.
welcoming that
I'm a
fire.
Leo myself.
Oh
Are
yeah.
you? Happy
Yeah, I
birthday.
am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
have the Lionsgate portal coming up that.
yeah, I do. And but yeah, and like I said, the the most important thing, I mean, the outer relationships, of course, are extremely important, and they're absolutely necessary. We need community, we need social community, we need interaction, we need engagement, we need relationships, friends, intimate. I mean, but more than anything, we need a relationship with ourselves. And so many people, they forget themselves. They don't put themselves first, and it might sound selfish, but there's times where we need to be selfish, and we need to put ourselves first, and we need to focus on ourselves, and we need to make ourselves heal ourselves before we can do anything to help someone else. And some people are, oh no, it's that's just ego, you're selfish, and blah blah blah. And in reality, it's like if you don't give yourself the love that you want to receive from someone else or want to give to someone else, it's never gonna you're never gonna get it. You've got to love yourself and accept yourself the way that you are, period. Or it's going to be a constant fight. You're going to be exhausted. You're always going to be frustrated. You're always going to be angry. You're going to see things negatively, and it's going to affect all of your relationships, because how is someone going to love you if you don't love yourself? It's like this, you know what I mean? And and so I really stress, and it does, in a way, naturally, it brings you closer to your heart center, and that's when I say it brings these emotions up. It shows you a lot more about yourself than you thought, and it kind of brings things to the surface, and realizations to, okay, wow, I have been very hard on myself for the last 4 years, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't realize the self-talk that was going on in my brain. And with entrepreneurs and business owners, a lot of times, like you said, it's easy to focus on what isn't yet, and what you haven't achieved yet, because you see all these entrepreneurs that are super successful, as opposed to focusing on, okay, well, 6 years ago I didn't have anything, and maybe I don't have, a multi-million dollar business or whatever, but you've gotten somewhere. You've got to look at what you've done, and it is sometimes really hard, because happens slowly, and like for me, I started this business 5 years ago, and until this past maybe year and a half, 2 years, it's been a struggle. I mean, I've been continually doing it, but until recently, I haven't seen, the exposure that I'm getting now, and getting invited to speak at conferences,
Yeah, I saw that.
like,
Congratulations.
thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate it, and
Holistic entities and reaching out to you.
yeah,
As an expert. That's
and it
wonderful.
and it's something that when I started, that's what I wanted, and that was kind of
Mhm.
my goal. I was like, I want to be someone that can speak about this in a way that people understand, and that is also relatable, and that I'm a normal human being that's gone through really hard things just like everyone else. And I've had my traumas just like you and you, and I'm sure everyone, and we've all had our traumas. And that it doesn't you don't have to be anything other than a normal human being to do this type of work. You just have to be able to trust in yourself and do the work first, of course, you know what I mean? And then you can take it and share that with the world, and kind of, spread it. And then whatever comes from that after comes from it. You know what I mean? There's not a goal to this, for me at least, and
Mhm.
when I started the business, I didn't have a goal of, oh, I want to grow this business, scale it, and then sell it when it reaches this. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was
You don't have
always
an
just
exit plan planned out right now.
no,
You're still very much in
no.
it.
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
don't really even want an exit plan.
Yeah, you're very
My plan
passionate
is
about
just
it.
to continue to provide the awareness until it's so in front of everyone's faces that, and not just coming from me, but from these studies. And there's I'm not the only person that knows a lot about this. You know what I mean? But I've done a ton of studying on it. You know what I mean? And I've
Mhm.
worked alongside these doctors, and I've seen the data. I've been involved with studies, so I do feel like I can speak on it on a different level than a lot of people in terms of the experiences that I've seen, as opposed to just being a faceless Instagram account selling a
Right.
product that does nothing more than that, and then leaves the person on their own to figure out how to deal with it. Because to me, I think that's one of the worst things you can do, is provide someone with something like this, with a tool so powerful, and then not tell them how to use it.
Yeah.
It's like giving someone, uh, making someone the president without giving them instructions on how to do it. Like, all right,
Mhm.
you're the president of the U.S. Good luck.
Right.
Like, no guidance, nothing. You're just gonna give this to me,
Bye-bye.
and yeah,
What does this red button do?
yeah,
Yeah, sounds like a
exactly.
Simpsons episode or
It's and I get a lot
Mhm.
of people too, where they'll comment on posts, and they'll be like, oh, I've been trying to find information for 2 weeks, and all I'm doing is Googling, and I've been thrown back and forth, and blah blah blah. And there's also a lot of gatekeeping with this
Yeah.
medicine, where
Mm.
people want to sell their courses, they want to sell their cohorts or whatever. Or if they do a podcast, they're gonna request, they're not going to do it for free. They're gonna, no,
Mhm.
I need to get paid to do the podcast. Or if I'm going to speak at an event, you're going to pay for my flight to the event, you're going to pay for my hotel, and you're going to give me expenses.
Mhm.
And I think that takes away from everything. I think that takes away from the whole idea of this education and awareness that needs to happen. And this gatekeeping, where people are like, no, I'm not gonna share the information, but I'll make a course. And if you pay $200, you can read everything that you could also read by just Googling and spending time on Google, you know,
Yeah.
and of course there's maybe a time and place for that. But with this specific medicine, it's such a has such profound benefits, that the fact that people are withholding this information or charging ridiculous amounts or just not even allowing people to ask questions about it, you know. um I'm very against it, you know, and so I offer free 20-minute consultations with anyone that wants to talk to me. They can ask me whatever they want
Mm-hmm.
because I don't mind giving 20 minutes of my time to educate someone, and 50% of the time that person ends up booking a session with me, you know. So it's not that I'm trying to do it as a way to sell it. It's more I want people to be able to have access to this information for free, and then they can do with it what they want after. And if they
Mm-hmm.
don't want a microdose, that's fine. I don't care. They don't need to buy microdoses from me, but I'm still just as satisfied by sharing the knowledge with them and answering the questions they have and clearing up any confusion that they might have, and then letting them decide what they want to do, you know, as opposed to putting pressure. Limited spaces cohort starting this day, this blah 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 or whatever. It's more of a, I'm here. If you're a client of mine, if you booked a consultation package with me, you have me forever. There's no like, okay, after this amount of time, you no longer can contact me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open for any messages people want to send me. I'm always available. I'm always going to be the one responding. I don't have a team. I do have a team, but I'm the one that responds to every message that I receive on Instagram, every message that I receive in WhatsApp, all the consults. I have one other therapist on my team that's out of Colorado that I refer people to that are looking for more like deep therapy,
Yeah.
not necessarily regarding microdosing, but like, okay, I want a microdose, but I also want a psychologist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a mental health therapist. So I can
Yeah.
only offer, you know, a certain amount of guidance as opposed
That's
to,
really amazing. I mean, you're such a great resource, and for you to be able to have those own recognize your limitations and where
yeah,
you shine in your expertise, I can see why people are drawn to you.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
I feel like I knew this was going to happen when we talked, but I knew we were just going to scratch the surface. And I didn't even have to pull I Ching because I felt like we really got into the flow of like, you know, tapping into what would be best served for the community to hear today.
Yeah,
But I do want to put a pin in it for today and just, you know, Justin, if we
Chapter
can,
1.
chapter
chapter
one.
one,
And
exactly.
if we can have you, we'll invite you inside of the Conscious Collaboration Collective on Facebook. It's closed and private for our
Yeah,
listeners.
absolutely.
So you can be a resource. And also, we'll put your contact information inside of the description so people can reach out to you and schedule one of those lovely 20-minute
Mhm.
consultations.
Yeah,
But I'm
please
so
do.
grateful and honored to have you share some. I've never heard so much information in a this period of time. And you
It
know,
was a
any of
lot. It
my
was
like
definitely a lot.
I'm a bit of a skeptic sometimes, you know, so like, you know, I kind of have some walls around some things, but you answered a lot of my skepticisms before I was able to voice them.
Well, I'm glad.
So I really appreciate that
Mm.
and your transparency and just being so accessible to us and our listeners. So you're definitely, I think, I'm looking forward to you coming to the Tampa area so we can connect with you
Me
and
too.
stay
No, I would
engaged.
love to. I have
But
a
great
I'm doing a live
collaboration.
podcast on my birthday in Tampa, I believe, actually.
Awesome. Yay.
Awesome.
Um, so maybe, but I would love to go to one of your classes because when I'm in
Yeah.
Florida, I need to work out because I don't have a gym there. So
Yeah, yeah.
just
Emily's flows
so
are amazing. Like her
we'll
Sunday sessions are just crazy good.
Yeah,
get
that's
in. We'll get it.
actually what I think would be a really cool experience for you is the restorative
Mhm.
flow that happens on
Mhm.
Sundays and Wednesdays, and I think that'd be a really good. we use
That'd
the
be
red
great.
light, and I think
And I'll
it'd be a really
I'll
good
bring you
combination.
a bottle of microdoses as well.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and then and I'll you as well, both. I mean,
And you and you and you.
if
But
you want to, send me your address or something after, I'll just have
oh
a
my
bottle
gosh.
sent to you. If you're
Oh,
up to it. I don't know if you microdose before, or if you don't want to, or either way, but you can have them just to have it,
Thank
and if you
you.
decide you want to take them,
Well, you're just amazing. I'm so happy that you were connected to us through Dr. Carlos, and
I
again,
really
like
appreciate
we
it.
welcome you to come back and continue the conversation, and we can delve a little bit deeper, go deeper into this
yeah.
rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
so
people are going to be really interested in this information. It's
I think
super,
so too.
super valuable.
So
So
we encourage
No,
everybody to send questions, reach out to Justin. You can also connect with us
yeah,
within Facebook group
absolutely.
for sure.
And
And
my Instagram
and
is open for
Instagram.
questions. Exactly, anyone can ask me any questions on Instagram. I've got tons of content on my profile.
Beautiful.
I'm always posting new stuff, and like I said, I'm always available for any and all questions.
So good.
love
Thank
it.
you
So
so much. All right, guys. Well, we're
yeah,
gonna wrap it for today. Stay on while I turn off the recording here, Justin, and we'll say
okay.
goodbye to our listeners and thank you for supporting us at the Conscious Collaboration.
Thank
And
you.
yes, yes. What do you
Thank
say,
you guys so
Emily?
much.
Thank you. Nope,
You
that's
covered
it.
it.
I covered it. All right.
You
All right,
covered it.
guys. Gonna close
Well, I'll
it
see
out.
you in
Talk.
class. I'll see
Yes.
you in class.
Yes.
We'll talk to you in 5.
Alrighty. Bye bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.